of violations of human rights that have become routine. Routine poisoning of the air we breathe and the water we drink. We've heard firsthand accounts of poisoning the planet's fresh water, devastating impacts on forests and biodiversity from Argentina to Brazil to Peru to Ecuador, Chile, Serbia to Canada. In all of these cases, we heard gross violations of the rights of nature and irreparable damage to life and living systems. We cannot forget that these individual cases come at a moment in human history when we are seeing the unprecedented collapse of life and living systems. Globally, we have millions of species threatened with extinction. 75% of the Earth's land-based environment has been severely altered. Less than 20% of the world's forests remain intact. And in the last 50 years, we've seen a 73% decline in wildlife populations. And in Latin America, that figure is a 95% decline. We're seeing mass die-offs of species in critical ecosystems like the Amazon or the Canadian boreal so impacted that they've now reached a crucial tipping point and are releasing carbon instead of storing it. 10 years ago, I was invited by Patty and others to her territory. I sat one evening with an elder having tea, and he said to me, "I've been studying your people, and is it true that you define wealth with this paper money that you've created?" I asked him, "How do you define wealth?" And he said it was simple. We define wealth as, first of all, a living forest that provides us our food, our medicine, and our water. By secondly, community, and by love. And just like that, the very fabric of the ideological and structural system that I had grown up with crumbled. We've heard in this tribunal over and over again how colonial systems devalue life, how a small number of elite work to ensure continued domination of life and living systems and those that live close to nature, indigenous peoples and women who bring forth life from our bodies. But now, we and the majority of the world know that these systems are killing us. No corner on Earth is free from the pollution, the fires, the floods, or the storms that are sweeping our planet. Today, one person dies every single minute due to air pollution or lethal humidity. The fossil fuel economy is the culmination of hundreds of years of colonization and is an energy system designed to create inequality, to foster continued dependency, to be controlled by a few, the most profitable and powerful companies in the history of the planet. Companies that are making $2.8 billion of pure profit every day for the past 50 years. But their empire is crumbling. And in its place, as we heard today, we will build a system that values life, that learns from and values indigenous knowledge, where power is redistributed. And I invite you, with the inspiration both of the horror and the vision that we've heard today and in these tribunals, to imagine that future. Because the most insidious thing that the fossil fuel industry has taken from us is our imagination. To imagine a life beyond fossil fuels. They are spending millions of dollars to fearmonger about scarcity, about the increases in the price of gas, to make us think that we can't live without them. But what we've heard in this tribunal is that we are only limited by our imagination. And a reimagination of the world's economic systems is already happening. 1 in 5 cars on the planet this year will be electric. In the 10 years since Paris was signed, renewable energy has dropped in price by over 50%, battery storage by over 90%. And never forget that we don't need to replace all fossil fuels. The fossil fuel economy is the most inefficient system that could ever have been created for energy. We only use 34% of the fossil fuels that are created for transportation, for heat and electricity. 34%. The rest is just used to continue to create the system. 50% of the ships moving on the planet today are just to move other fossil fuels around. We don't need to replace that system. We just need to ensure that everyone has access to energy. We can't forget that oil, gas, and coal is responsible for 86% of the carbon trapped in our atmosphere today, causing the dramatic increase in fires and floods and lethal heat. And that fossil fuels from air pollution alone are the greatest cause of premature death on the planet. 10 years since Paris, and right now we're on track to produce 120% more oil, gas, and coal than we can ever burn if we want to meet the goals of the Paris Agreement. We must stop expanding fossil fuels and manage a fair phase-out and move to a safer and cleaner systems. And of course, we should not forget the impacts of mineral mining for renewable energy, which we heard so much about. But please remember that the fossil fuel economy takes 535 times more mining than the clean energy economy. We need legislation that ensures that we're first and foremost using the critical minerals that are already on the surface of the planet. We need to ensure that any mining respects indigenous rights, human rights, and biodiversity. There are already 17 countries, including Colombia, who have agreed to begin to develop this new vision of the future, a fossil fuel treaty. That number will grow as the movement and campaign calling for a treaty grows. I urge you to join this effort at fossilfueltreaty.org, because together we are so much more powerful than we are apart. We cannot continue to fight these projects, project by project. We have to be powerful together. I urge all of you participating in this tribunal to amplify the work of the tribunal and the cases you've heard today, share the videos, the decisions that will be released, meet with your governments. To those who have presented cases to us in New York, Toronto, and here in Belém, know that we have heard you, that you are not alone in your struggle for justice, in your struggle to value life. Together, we are stronger than apart. And your courage has inspired us all. And the great thing about courage is that courage is contagious. Thank you.